A humble cleaner wins the lottery but decides to keep her million-dollar prize a secret, deceiving her husband during the divorce process. On the day she finally signs the papers to end the marriage, she encounters an unexpected revelation about the prize she had hidden. What should have been a personal victory turns into a surprising twist that could change everyone's fate. Hello, my friends. I am Linda, and this is the Linda's Stories channel. I hope you enjoy this story. Days and Richard were a simple couple who lived in a small town in the countryside. Days, a 35-year-old woman, worked as a cleaner in family homes and local businesses. She had brown hair always tied up in a bun, hands calloused from hard work, and a determined look that revealed her inner strength. From a young age, Days dreamed of providing a better life for her family, but life circumstances forced her to start working early, leaving her studies aside. Richard, on the other hand, was a 40-year-old man, a bricklayer by trade, with broad shoulders and strong hands shaped by work in construction. He had an easy smile and kind eyes that reflected his simple and affectionate nature. Richard valued above all the stability and comfort of having a home to call his own. The couple had 2 beautiful children. The family lived in a modest house, the result of Richard and Daisy's hard work over the years. In the beginning, the love between Days and Richard seemed unshakable. They faced life's difficulties together, supporting each other in tough times. Days admired Richard's dedication to the family, while he was enchanted by his wife's strength and determination. However, as time went on, the differences between them became more evident. Driven by the desire to offer better opportunities for their children, Days began to pressure Richard to seek a better-paying job or start his own business. She dreamed of seeing the kids attending better schools and having access to extracurricular activities that could enrich their lives. Richard, on the other hand, was content with his simple life. He believed that the most important thing was to have an honest and stable job that allowed them to pay the bills and put food on the table. For him, happiness was in the little things. Sunday nights watching TV with the family, Sunday lunches with relatives, and casual chats with neighborhood friends. As time went by, these differences in perspective began to create tensions in their relationship. Dinner table conversations, once filled with laughter and daily stories, turned into discussions about money and unfulfilled ambitions. Days began to see Richard as a man without ambition, unable to provide the family with the life she dreamed of. Richard, in turn, felt constantly pressured and misunderstood, as if his efforts were never enough. The fights became more frequent and intense. The children, Paul and Elise, began to notice the change in the family environment. They heard the arguments late at night when they thought they were asleep, and noticed the tense glances exchanged between their parents during meals. One day, after a particularly heated argument about the family's finances, Days made a decision that would change the course of their lives. She decided that she could no longer stay in that relationship, which she said prevented her from growing and achieving her dreams. With tears in her eyes but determination in her voice, she asked Richard for a divorce. The news hit Richard like a bombshell. He was stunned, unable to believe that this request was really happening. In his mind, the problems they were facing were just temporary obstacles that could be overcome with love and mutual understanding. He begged Days to reconsider, to give couples therapy a chance, but she was resolute in her decision. The divorce process was painful for everyone. Paul and Elise, the children, were devastated by the news, unable to fully understand why their parents could no longer stay together. The couple's family and friends were shocked, as to everyone's eyes, Days and Richard had always seemed like a happy and united couple. During the divorce negotiations, Richard surprised everyone with an unexpected decision. He announced that he would leave the house, the only asset they owned, to Days and the children. His justification was simple and touching. He wanted to ensure that the children grew up in a stable and familiar environment, along with their mother. This generous attitude caught Days by surprise, making her briefly question whether she was making the right decision. However, something strange began to happen. Days, who had always been a simple and discreet woman, started to show signs of a more comfortable life. On the day of the first divorce hearing, she arrived driving a new and elegant car, something completely out of her usual financial standard. Her clothes also drew attention, a sophisticated outfit that Richard had never seen before. In the days that followed, Richard noticed other intriguing changes. The children started showing up during his visits wearing branded clothes and talking about new expensive toys. When questioned about these sudden changes, Days gave vague answers, mentioning savings she had accumulated over the years or unexpected bonuses at work. These explanations did not convince Richard. How could a cleaning lady, who could barely make ends meet at the end of the month, suddenly live as if she had won the lottery? Doubt began to eat away at Richard, turning his sadness over the separation into a mixture of confusion and distrust. Driven by curiosity and the need to understand what was happening, Richard decided to investigate on his own. He remembered that Days had mentioned months ago that she was participating in a lottery pool with her co-workers. At the time, he didn't pay much attention, considering it an unnecessary expense. With this memory in mind, Richard went to the neighborhood lottery outlet, where Days used to make her occasional bets. There, he discreetly asked if there had been any recent big winners in the area. To his surprise and shock, the attendant confirmed that yes, a group of cleaning ladies had won a substantial prize a few weeks ago. Richard's heart raced. Everything was starting to make sense. The new car, the expensive clothes, the gifts for the children. Days had won the lottery and had hidden it from him throughout the entire divorce process. Richard felt a mix of emotions: anger at the Lee, sadness at the lack of trust, and deep disappointment. He had always believed that despite their differences, he and Days shared fundamental values such as honesty and integrity. Now, that belief was shaken. For days, Richard wrestled internally over what to do with this information. Part of him wanted to confront Days immediately, demanding explanations and his fair share of the prize. Another part, however, felt tired of fights and conflicts, preferring to move on with his life, leaving the past behind. On the day of the final divorce hearing, Richard arrived at the courthouse with the weight of this discovery on his shoulders. While they waited for the judge, he observed Days, trying to find any sign of guilt or remorse in her face. She seemed nervous, but Richard attributed this to the divorce situation itself. When the judge entered and the hearing began, everything seemed to be heading towards a peaceful conclusion. The terms of the divorce were reviewed, including Richard's decision to leave the house to Days and the children. The judge praised the couple's maturity in resolving their differences amicably. It was at that moment, when everything seemed resolved, that Richard finally spoke. With a calm but firm voice, he addressed the judge. "Your Honour, before we conclude, there is something I need to bring to the court's attention. Recently, I discovered that my ex-wife, Days, won a substantial lottery prize shortly before we initiated the divorce proceedings. This fact was omitted during all our negotiations." The ensuing silence was deafening. Days paled, her eyes wide with shock and fear. The judge, visibly surprised, asked for explanations. Days, with a trembling voice, tried to justify herself. She admitted to winning the prize, but argued that the money was a result of her own work and effort, separate from their marital assets. She claimed to have hidden the information out of fear that it would complicate the divorce process. The judge, after hearing both parties, determined that the lottery prize should be considered a marital asset, as it was acquired during the marriage. He ordered that the amount be equally divided between Days and Richard. To everyone's surprise, Richard then made an unexpected announcement. "Your Honour, I don't want this money. My intention in revealing this was not to gain financially, but to expose the truth. It was the money that destroyed our marriage, and I want nothing to do with it. I just wanted the truth to come out." Richard's words had a profound impact on everyone present, especially on Days. She looked at her ex-husband with a mix of shame and admiration, realizing for the first time the true character of the man she had shared so many years of her life with. At that moment, something changed within Days. She saw clearly how her obsession with a better life and her fear of losing the money had blinded her to what truly mattered: the honesty, the trust, and the love that Richard had always shown for her and their children. With tears in her eyes, Days stood up and asked for permission to speak. With a voice choked with emotion, she turned to Richard and the judge. "I made a terrible mistake. I let greed and fear cloud my judgment. Richard has always been a loving husband and a devoted father. Our problems were real, but I exaggerated them in my mind, convincing myself that money would solve everything. Now I see that I was wrong. If there is still a chance, I would like to withdraw this divorce request." Richard, surprised by Daisy's statement, remained silent for a few moments. He looked into his wife's remorseful eyes and felt that despite everything, the love that had brought them together was still there, buried under layers of hurt and misunderstandings. After a long pause, Richard slowly nodded. "I made mistakes too," he said. "Maybe we can try again, this time with more honesty and mutual understanding." The judge, visibly moved by the turn of events, agreed to suspend the divorce proceedings, recommending that the couple seek professional counselling to resolve their differences. Daisy and Richard left the courtroom with only the decision to make it work again. Not as a perfect couple, but as two people willing to work through their problems and rebuild the lost trust. They knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but they were determined to try, now with a new perspective on what truly mattered in life. In the months that followed, Daisy and Richard worked hard to rebuild their relationship. They attended couples therapy sessions, where they learned to communicate better and to respect each other's differences. Daisy began to value more the stability and love that Richard had always provided for the family, while Richard made an effort to be more open to Daisy's aspirations for a better life. The lottery money, which had almost destroyed their marriage, was used wisely. They invested in education for themselves and their children, improved their home without extravagance, and saved a portion for the future. Most importantly, they used part of the money to help some of their siblings, sharing it joyfully. Paul and Elise, initially confused by the whole situation, ended up seeing in it a valuable lesson about the importance of honesty and forgiveness. They grew up watching their parents work together to overcome adversities, strengthening not only their relationship but also family bonds. Over time, Daisy and Richard rediscovered the love and respect that initially united them. They learned that true wealth does not lie in money, but in the strength of a relationship based on trust, understanding, and mutual love. Their story became an example in their community of how it is possible to overcome great challenges and emerge stronger and more united. Thus, what began as a story of separation and disappointment transformed into a journey of redemption and renewal. Daisy and Richard proved that with honesty, forgiveness, and commitment, it is possible to turn even the most difficult moments into opportunities for growth and renewed love. If you enjoyed, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with a number from 1 to 5 to let us know how much you liked the story. Also, watch the video that is currently on your screen. See you soon.